Village with me, Colm O'Regan. Tonight, the Dublin Story School is delighted to partner with Children's Health Foundation to bring you three uplifting stories from parents, fundraisers, and medical professionals, all of whom benefit directly from fundraising. On Friday, it's good that we're doing this now, because on Friday, the Children's Health Foundation organised a bake-off at raising a huge €215,000 from a host of events all across the country. It was absolutely amazing. So what we want to do with these stories is show you the impact that fundraising has on transforming spaces and indeed lives. We chose the name It Takes a Village because it was the one thing that kept coming up in our conversations with our storytellers and the medical team at Children's Health Foundation. It was that sense of community that you find at all of these hospitals. It's that sense that we're all in it together, no matter who you are, whether you're the receptionist who admits the patients, or whether you're a really worried, really stressed parent, or whether you're a medical professional working with all those people. You still feel that sense of community, that you're all part of the one team and everyone looks out for each other. We will be hearing from our storytellers in a little while. We're going to chat to them and then hear their stories. But also, it's a thing that we like to do at the Dublin Story School. It's our audience story. So the audience, you are very welcome to it. And also, we'd love to hear your stories. Little stories, maybe max about 100 words. If you have experienced that sense of community at any of the children's hospitals at Tala, Connolly, Crumlin, or Temple Street, please share that little story with us in the comments on whatever platform you're watching, whether it's Facebook or YouTube. So please do that. We'd love to hear from you. And we've got one, just like the bake-off. Here's one we made earlier. We got one sent in from somebody called Brian Coddar, and it's about Sheena. So Sheena, who is now 3 and will be 4 in September, was born with a congenital heart defect. It's called an AVSD. And Brian says that we received unbelievable care in Crumlin from Lars Nolke, Professor Brian McMahon, and all of the team in the Children's Heart Centre. And I know that place because I was there around about 4 years ago with our family, with our daughter Lily, so I know exactly what he's talking about. So he says it was a massively challenging time trying to get Sheena up to the necessary weight and through the operation, and all the while they were juggling looking after her 2 older sisters. But with Crumlin's help, we got through it, says Brian, and his motto is whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's his overriding memory of that time. So you'll see on your screen, there's a picture of Sheena. He's telling us that she's doing brilliantly now, and he wants to say thank you so much to everyone in Crumlin, and please keep up the amazing work. So you get the picture. If you've experienced that kind of community and that amazing help and that power of healing through that community, please share with us in the comments there, and we'd love to hear from you, and we'll read them out. So let's meet our storytellers. We have 3 storytellers, and we're delighted to introduce them to you now. First up, just to say hello to Noreen Doyle. Hello, Noreen. There you are, Noreen. Hi. Noreen is CEO of Irish Biltong, which is another story. We'll want to hear more about that some other time, but it's already you're fascinating. She's the mother of 4 children, lives in Naas, and as Noreen will tell us, 2 of her children spent a lot of time in Crumlin Children's Hospital. Before your story, and we'll hear your story in a little while, Noreen, can you just set the context for that story and why you were there then, and I guess why you're here now today?
Okay, Colm, listen, it's great to be here, and it is great to get the opportunity to explain to people exactly what fundraising does, and this is really the aim of my part here tonight. So I'm mother of 4. 2 of my children were diagnosed with leukemia 10 years apart, and in those 10 years in between those 2 children's diagnoses, we went from a very old ward to a new ward, and that was all because of the fundraising that was done in the meantime. The impact that had on us as a family and on our children was huge, and you'll hear it when I tell the story. But like, you know, we're kind of special. There's not many people between here and the UK who have two children with exactly the same leukemia diagnosis. So, you know, UPD for us. But, you know, that's the way things are.
Thanks so much for that, and I've heard you tell it already. I'm really looking forward to it. It's an amazing story of transformation and its impact. So talk to you very soon, Noreen. Our second storyteller is Joe Hamill. Hi, Joe. Joe's son, Joseph, was diagnosed with cancer. He has received treatment and he's doing well. But Joe decided, he's come out of having experienced the treatment, Joe said, I want to do something, I want to raise funds. And you decided, Joe, to run 10 kilometers a day. Sure, anybody can do that. No, Joe's going to do it every day for a year. I know the story is going to be about the challenges in doing the run, but also the other challenges that maybe you wouldn't expect. First of all, how was today's run? Did you get caught in the rain?
No, fantastic run this morning, out in the sun, nice and early at 6:30 up to late town.
And you are on day what now of this challenge?
Today was 329, so tomorrow is day 330, and I've covered 3,500 miles so far.
So what have the rest of you done with your lives?
3,500 keys.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Joe. We're looking forward to hearing of the challenges you faced in a little while. And our final storyteller is Alison Sweeney. She's a music therapist with Temple Street. And Alison, I've heard of different types of therapists, and play therapy and occupational therapy. Music therapy was new to me. I know it probably is fun and it's relaxing, but it has this medical basis as well too, doesn't it?
First of all, thank you for having me here today. I'm delighted to be here and to share a story about the role of music therapy. So yes, you're absolutely right. I suppose music is relaxing, music is therapeutic in itself, but actually the role of a music therapist is quite different. So I really work with the children and we look at how we can help the child to cope with the experience of illness and of treatment and of hospitalization. And then also looking at their rehab, how can we help the child working jointly with other healthcare professionals such as speech and language therapists, and really using music in creative ways to help the child achieve their therapy goals.
That sounds really fascinating. And one of the things I'm just so happy to be part of this is just to learn a whole new area and to meet people who are so passionate about what they do. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your story. And also, you are going to finish tonight by singing us a song at the end, which is linked to the story you're going to tell. So heard you doing a dry run earlier, and really looking forward to that as well too. So I think we can begin now. So thanks to our three storytellers for their introduction, and let's hear their story. We're going to start with Noreen Doyle. So Noreen, you all set? You're all ready? There you go. Noreen, before you even start, I want to say thanks a million for being part of this. In your own time, take it away.
Thank you, Colm. In 2017, April 21st, I found myself at the doors of St. John's Ward in Crumlin with my daughter Kate, who had been diagnosed with leukemia earlier that day. She was only 6. And upon approaching those doors, you know, my heart was already breaking. My anxiety was through the roof, because all that was in my head was flashbacks of memories from 10 years previously. So 10 years previously, my son, James, who had just celebrated his 2nd birthday, had also been diagnosed with leukemia. We were a family of 4, my husband, myself, my older son, Adam, who was 3.5 at the time, and James, as I said, who had just turned 2. We had no idea, absolutely no idea what the world of cancer was like. We had no idea what the world of childhood cancer was like. So, you know, we were terrified, and we just had to get on with it. So on our first night, I stayed with James, and they brought us to St. John's Ward. And it was quiet, and I had specifically asked if we could go down at night time when, you know, people were quiet and asleep, because I was terrified. So they brought us to our room, and we went into our room, which really wasn't much bigger than, you know, a slightly enlarged box room, but it contained 2 patients. There was already a patient in the room, and there was a bed for us. So on the other side of the curtain, which was the only divide and the only bit of privacy we could get from each other, there was a father and his little boy, and James and I were on this side of the curtain. And immediately what struck me was that the man was playing lullaby music for his little boy. And this just didn't really settle with me, because I suppose with the mood I was in, lullaby music just didn't rock my boat. So I got into bed with James and I got him to sleep. And then I crawled myself down onto the fold-out mattress that was on the ground, me and my little bump. And it was the loneliest night of my life. I absolutely cried myself to sleep. And I didn't want to, you don't want to make too much noise, because there was another family suffering at the other side of that curtain. Anyway, the following morning, the team came in and James's treatment started straight away. And that was probably our very first introduction to the village that is, and it's such an appropriate word, to the village that is St. John's Ward. The ward was made up of approximately 12 rooms, 2 patients to every room. With each patient, there was a carer or a parent. There was 2 shower rooms and 3 bathrooms to facilitate all of that. So you had to get into a routine very quickly. So I learned to get up early in the morning, to get into the shower early so there wasn't a queue. I would pick everything up off the ground. There was very little space in the rooms apart from James's little locker. So we didn't really bring much with us because there just wasn't space for it. And all of that stuff had to be put up onto the bed for the cleaner to come in. You'd roll down your bed down to the storeroom, and that became our routine, and that was absolutely fine. It was such an unfamiliar world to us that really, you know, we struggled for a period of time trying to settle into it. But, you know, as time went on, it became our second home, and little did we know that it actually would be our second home for over 12 years. So this was my life and my son's life, because my husband was at home minding my other child for a number of years, in and out of that ward for days on end or for weeks on end. And each time hoping to God that we got roomed with a child who was from a small family, so that there wouldn't be loads of visitors, because there was no privacy. You know, there was one television between 2 children. And getting 2 children to agree on a program when they're on chemo or on steroids, that's just a non-runner. So there was little to occupy them. So, you know, it was a challenge. But despite all of those challenges, there was one thing that helped get us through, and it was literally that village atmosphere that was throughout the whole ward. The cleaning staff literally became part of our lives. There was, you know, they'd come in the morning and they'd give you a little bit of news from the outside world, because, you know, you wouldn't necessarily hear a whole lot. One of them used to actually bring me in a boiled egg every morning. She felt sorry for me because I was pregnant, and I don't know how many of those eggs I ate, but it was just the kindness of it was gorgeous. There was just an amazing atmosphere of support and love on the ward, and the hustle and bustle all day as the doors were kept open. They were only ever closed really if James or the other child in the room were feeling particularly unwell and not feeling up to being able to deal with the noise. And all the time the team were doing their job, and 4 years later, James, my son, was cleared and finished his treatment, and he is now a 16-year-old, healthy, gorgeous, of course I would say that, young man, you know, amazing. So let's fast forward to 2017. I'm standing at those same doors again at St. John's Ward with Kate. And, you know, it's just, I'm beside myself. But this time, the experience is very, very different, because in those 10 years, there's been a huge amount of fundraising done. And in fact, the ward is now, to me, like a 5-star hotel. We're brought down to this amazing room that's bright and clean and airy, and there's only us in it. There's an ensuite bathroom. That was one of our big things. Like, we had our own bathroom. For me, that was like, oh my God, this is absolutely amazing. We have privacy. It meant that we could dress Kate's room immediately, like home from home. We were able to bring in her twinkle lights. We were able to bring in her favorite duvet and her pillow cover. We were able to bring in her entourage. She had an entourage of teddy bears, 25 of them, that went everywhere in black plastic bags with us. But they were able to come in. So it meant that by having the space and privacy of her own room, we were able to, you know, be just us in the space that we were in. It meant that my little girl could go through whatever she needed to go through behind closed doors and privacy. It meant that she had the security in this privacy that played a huge role in her coping mentally with the treatment and the side effects that were ahead of her. So those cuddly toys, right? I'd mentioned this to Colm some time back, and he had wanted to know, like, who was the head, and this is the head. This is the head cuddly toy. This is Ted. Ted was with Kate forever, and is still one of her favourite toys. And the nurses used to slag her about, how do you remember all of those toys' names? So one day she set them a challenge, and she challenged them to remember all the names. And at the end of the day, there would be a competition. So all day long, they were coming in their tea breaks, they were coming in on their lunch hours. If they had to do her obs, they were spending a little bit more time with her. And they were really like taking this very seriously. And at the end of the day, at the end of their shift, they all came in and the competition started. But what really just made it for me, she was there in the middle of them all, holding court, laughing, whilst she was connected up to her chemo drip. It had no impact on her. But the girls, the nurses, were laughing and playing with her, and it was just a gift. It was the best medicine ever. But having our own room and that amazing new ward in St. John's Ward meant a whole lot more. It meant that I could be her mammy. It allowed me space at nighttime to, go into the shower and have my bit of a cry and get over it. The nights weren't as lonely because I was there with my little girl and I was able to express all those sad feelings. The new modern day St. John's Ward meant the team of nurses and doctors could spend a lot more quality time with Kate and myself and talk to us about any of our worries. And there was no hassle, there was no noise from the outside world, there was no noise from the ward. It was just us in our bubble and we were so safe. Now today, Kate is a very healthy 12-year-old, almost 2 years finished her treatment, and a very, very happy child. So when you think of fundraising, it might be hard sometimes to know exactly where the money goes. Amongst other things, it goes into creating new wards and private rooms like the one that I've just spoken about that Kate and I spend so much time in. And these spaces aren't just about being comfortable or having more room and privacy, they're so much more than that. They're spaces where mammies can be mammies, children can be children. Doctors, nurses, surgeons, cleaners, porters, caterers can all come together, and they do take care. They do what a village does. They take care of mammy and child. So the next time you're considering doing a fundraiser or supporting one, think of kids like Kate. Oh, that's James, sorry. So James and Kate, my two gorgeous children. Sorry about that. And think of digging a little bit deeper. It really does make a huge difference. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay Ahern and I'm a music therapist here at CHI Temple Street. I'm currently working across neuroscience and palliative care.
Hi everyone, my name is Susan Hurley and I'm working here with children and adolescents under the care of the mental health team and the palliative care team.
Hi everyone, I'm Alison, and we just want to say a really big thank you to all the donors for your continued support of the music therapy service here at CHI Temple Street. We absolutely could not operate this service without your support. It means that sick children have access to music therapy services, and that is just wonderful. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noreen Doyle. Let's a round of applause for Noreen Doyle. I'm clapping here in my weird red room. I'll fill you in on where I am based in a little while, but that was brilliant. Thank you so much, Noreen, and some comments coming in there. Beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing those inspiring words. I echo that completely. And there's so many lovely little moments there. Great to meet Ted. I always want to know who the main teddy bear is. Kate is Ted just on loan to you for tonight, and Kate will be looking for him back?
100%, Colm. Like, nothing happens without Ted. Like, he is literally her left arm. It's incredible, and she's 12. She'll probably kill me for saying that, but like he has, like he's been her comforter for so many years.
and the two of them are flying now. And one thing I loved was because everybody's got a job to do in a situation like this, but then a job that really needs to be done is the mammy or the daddy needs to be able to do their job, and that space, because we talked earlier about transforming space and transforming lives. That's the space, give you the space to do your job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you so much for that beautiful testimony and also a practical demonstration. Here's what money does. It really does help. Yeah, thanks, Noreen. Best of luck to you and the family, and obviously the Irish biltong. We'll do a full hour on Irish biltong at some point, including remind me again what is biltong, but not tonight. Thanks again.
Okay, thanks, Colm.
Now it's time to talk to Joe Hamill and hear his story. Joe, you're there, you're all set, you're ready. You've probably done another run in the meantime because it was, you just can't sit still. Just again, as I said to Noreen, before even start, thank you so much for all the time you've spent in putting together this story. Really looking forward to hearing it in your own time. Joe Hamill.
Thank you very much, Colm, and thank you everybody for taking the chance to join this evening. It's 4:30 a.m. in Crumlin, and I'm staying in the fantastic parents' quarters in the rear of the hospital. I'm absolutely wrecked. Like, I just can't sleep, just because it's just not my own bed. And Nicole, my wife, she's upstairs in the ward with Joseph, and he's upstairs. He has an aggressive tumour just between his lung and his heart, and his condition is quite serious. He's deteriorating quite rapidly. The doctors are still unsure as to what the course of action will be until further tests need to be done. So my thoughts are all over the place. And as a parent, we're used to making things better for our children, but in this case, we're completely helpless. So I'm in the corridors just outside the canteen, and I'm reading the staff vacancy notice board, just reading through it, thinking, I'd be a good fit for that job, I'd be good at that. And just a natural way for me to occupy my mind for a minute or two, just from the reality of what's going on. And then all of a sudden, the door opens from behind me, the staff canteen, and this lady says, "You look like you could do with a nice cup of tea." And she puts a very strong cup of tea on the desk beside the door, and asking if I want milk and sugar. I was completely dazzled because I wasn't expecting it to be opened, and I just said thank you in the spur of a moment. Thank you. And before I could really compose myself, she was gone. But the satisfaction of just having that cup of tea will never leave me. The awareness and care that lady's shown will never leave me to this day. There's just something so magic about that act. This wasn't a nurse, it wasn't a doctor, it was a caterer, and it was 4:30 in the morning. It's really, as a parent, you're so wrapped up in your own headspace that you feel completely invisible walking around those corridors. Someone out of the blue does something as thoughtful as that, like a cup of tea, just makes you realise how special, how much of a village, a community is at the hospital, where everyone looks out for everybody, no matter who you are. So even in the depths of that uncertainty, that morning I had my mind was made up, that I wanted to give back to this great little village, and that commitment I made to myself suddenly helped me feel slightly better, and just gave me an inner strength to go back up to the ward and just make things, just get on with the day with a bit more of a positive glow. So I know in the months that followed, I thought about different fundraising efforts that I could maybe target, and I wanted to do something over a length of time that I could adjust and maybe target different fundraising options. So I came up with the idea of running 10k a day for a year. Now, I was relatively fit from my commute between Bettystown and Dublin, so I ran, cycled, walked between various stages of my commute from my home to the bus stops to the office. So I just thought, okay, if I'm doing this 5 days a week on my commute to and from work, I thought, okay, I have a decent chance of incorporating and sustaining a 10K run in that commute. So I said, okay, let's just go with it. And if I fail, at least, I wasn't too worried about the failure. But the biggest thing for me was really telling people and asking them for help and money and over a year. So like I'm saying to myself, hold on here now, I have to tell my family, my friends, I have to tell my work colleagues, strangers. I says, okay, maybe the easy option here is to just go and look at something else. I'm a very shy person, private, someone who's quite, I consider me quite introverted and self-sufficient, and I wouldn't be inclined to ask help from others. So I usually would run a million miles away from this type of exposure. So like in between me deciding to do this run, this challenge, and telling someone about it, it took me 9 months. I was just so afraid of how people would react. I think I read a recent article on LinkedIn, FOPO is the term often used, fear of people's opinions. But I suppose quickly a switch went in my head and I said, like, look at what my son Joseph went through in Crumlin and all those children as well. You see in the war, look at what they're going through. Like, surely, cup yourself on. This is simple compared to what they're going through. So that, again, that impetus really did kind of got me to the next level. So I'm in the kitchen with Nicole one evening peeling the veg. It's the only time I really get to have a chat after work, and decided I told her about my plan to raise money for Crumlin, and she was awestruck by the scale of my challenge. But the very first word she said to me, that if anyone was going to do it, to pull it off, that it was me. And to this day, I think it is, like, without doubt, it's the single most important ingredient that I need to sustain such a challenge this far. So, I mean, I rolled into the challenges, started up, and I was running. I probably had banked 30 days at this stage. I was tired, I was burning runners. Niggles, really the first 15 to 30 days were quite tough. And I said, okay, the fundraising really needs to take a step up now, and I really need to go public on this. And my next challenge really was Facebook. I have to tell my friends and complete strangers, how am I going to do this? Like, to me, Facebook was a hostile environment for vulnerable people. And really, this was different gravy for me. So really, I again, just looking back at the community and what Crumlin do and the fundraising, helped me get that first post out, and to be honest, the reality was completely the opposite of what the perception was. People's goodness completely shone through and outweighs any negativity towards it. So it was really fantastic. And then as that happened, I was asked to speak on a team town hall about my fundraising efforts and work. And this again, really, what am I going to do here? This was going to be quite difficult. Talk about something so raw, personal. I was really, it's a work call. I don't want to mess up. I perceived it, again, perceptions as that maybe people are going to judge me here, and possibly I maybe look weak, and then plus I'm going to have to ask them for their support in all of this. But again, the call was probably a very, very relaxed call, question and answer session, and it went by so quick, but the response was absolutely overwhelming, and the amount of personal message and support, people unattached with Crumlin suddenly connected with the efforts of how important fundraising is for the hospital, and what a great community and the support they gave my family. But even what was more overwhelming from that was the fact that my work was so brilliant in sponsoring my runners for the rest of my journey and the 365 target. So really, like, at the end of it, where I'm sitting now, really, I've raised in excess of 38,000 after setting an initial target of 5. I've had my runner sponsors. I've made fantastic friends, contacts with various clubs throughout the country. people contacted me looking to join runs. It was only last weekend I ran with a group of people that included a priest, a pharmacist, a radio DJ, and a county councillor. That was an eventful run, to say the least. It was unbelievable, and it'll never leave me. But also, it's given me a new, I suppose, a new me. I'm still vulnerable, but a lot more confident. I never thought I'd tell my story to so many people here this evening, and it's really, I mean, my final message would be that, like, the community in Crumlin, the community feeling at the hospital is such a special place. And so special, it got me to do things I never thought I could. And that community really does need our support, especially in these tough times. So if there's anything you can do to support Crumlin or any of the children's hospitals in Ireland, please do so. Thank you very much.
Well done, Joe Hamill. That was amazing. Thank you very much, Joe. I'm not going to run. You're so inspiring. Like, I'm not going to do what you did. I'll do something else that doesn't involve running from here to Moscow over the next year. But it's amazing. I loved the journey, the literal journey you went on in putting yourself out there. And I know social media can be scary, and you don't want to read the comments, but you got to read a comment in from Joseph Gamer TV. That sounds like somebody's like, oh no, who's hacked into? But it's not. It's Nicole saying, so proud of my husband, Joe. Oh, see, YouTube comments are lovely. Isn't that lovely there? Thanks very much, Nicole, for that lovely support for Joe, and practical support as well too from the people who sponsored your runners. A pair of runners, what was it, every 8 weeks or something you went through?
I'm probably burning a pair every 7 8 weeks. Yeah.
Right.
It's fantastic.
I've had runners for 8 years, and I know that there's nothing troubling them at the moment. It's a stunning achievement. And are you a different person now?
Definitely. I've learned so much along the way from, like, really, I suppose the whole experience of Crumlin, right through Crumlin to the journey of the 365 days to, like, here I am on a call. I would never have imagined myself in this type of situation. So yes, I'm a completely different person in that sense. I'm the same person, but I suppose I wouldn't let fear is uncomfortable. You're a little bit uncomfortable about this, but I certainly wouldn't let fear hold me back from anything like that. It turns out to be more positive than anything. Not to trust perceptions. It's just
I think it was in you all along, Joe. Plus, as well as running all that distance, and we'll tell people how to get onto your fundraiser page as well too. But also, you have inadvertently supplied perhaps a plot for maybe Hangover Part 4 involving a priest, a DJ, a county councillor, and a pharmacist on an incredible journey across the countryside. What madcap adventures do they all get up to? Hollywood will come running for you, Joe. So thank you so much. And how's young Joe?
He's fantastic. He's doing very well, and he's still in and out of Crumlin for regular checkups. But he's thriving at the moment. Very happy, and we're just so indebted to Crumlin for everything you've done to us.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Great words there, and great words in your story as well too. So let us move on to our final storyteller of the evening. It's a great pleasure to introduce Alison Sweeney. Hi, Alison. You're all set. We said hello to you earlier, and we're looking forward to your story in your own time.
Absolutely in awe of Joe and Noreen, and thank you so much for sharing your stories and for the amazing work that you're doing. So today I'm going to tell you about a referral that I received that was, I suppose, a little bit out of the ordinary for me. And just to say that I do have parents' consent to share this story, and that I have changed the name of the person in the story, and just to protect the patient's confidentiality. So I'll be referring to the person as John. So my story begins with referral, And I, as the music therapist, one of the music therapists in CHI at Temple Street, I had a really busy morning. I remember being down in the wards, and I was checking up on new referrals over my lunch break. And this one referral in particular caught my eye, and it was for a young person with quite complex medical needs and really high anxiety about attending hospital. So much so to the point that he could at times vomit on the way to hospital. So really, really high level of anxiety. And I, in the referral, was being asked if there was any way that I could support this young person with a music therapy session during a dental appointment. And so this is one of those moments for me, and I'm sure you all can relate at home, when you've got 100 things racing through your mind of all the things that you have to do that day, and then something like this comes along and you just have that really sharp focus and you just zone in on it. And I remember thinking, am I going to be able to help? And if so, how do I help in this circumstance? And if I'm being really honest with you, I didn't know if I was going to be able to help, but I suppose I knew that I really wanted to. And with that in mind, I set about then linking with various different team members in order to come up with a plan. And I worked very closely with the dental team in particular for prepping for this session, the consultant dentist, the dental nurse, the dental receptionist, and the clinical nurse specialist who had sent this referral. And we really looked at the process by which a child or a young person comes through when they attend for a dental appointment. And we thought about that and came up with the concept that for somebody with really high anxiety, a staged approach would be probably the best option. And I suppose we made this decision based on what the research had said. We looked at music therapy research from the States, but also that common sense piece. I'm sure you can all relate to having a problem and being able to break it down into manageable chunks, and all of a sudden it's not quite as scary anymore. So that was the planned approach. And I knew that if John could attend the waiting room first of all and meet me, and then meet the dental team, and then transfer into the dental surgery, that little by little we could get through the experience. And so I suppose another really important part was that I found out this young person's favorite song, and I learned that. And I know from my experience as a music therapist that knowing a young person's favorite song, that's really powerful. And so anyway, we were all prepped, ready to go, and the morning arrived for John to attend for his dental appointment. And I went down to the dental team early, and we recapped on our plan, and I got set up in the waiting room, and I was practicing the song, and I could hear out in the hallway a mum. I knew it was a mum instinctively, reassuring her child in only a way, in a way that only a mother can. And I looked up, and there was John, and I could immediately see the fear and the anxiety in his eyes and in his face. And I knew it was very clear he didn't want to be there. And again, that moment of doubt just flooded through my mind, and I thought, are you going to be able to help? And I quickly just pushed that to one side, and I started to sing John's favorite song, which was Half the World Away by Oasis. Great song. And all of a sudden he turned to me, and he started moving his wheelchair towards me, and he came right up beside me and the guitar, and I could see him reach out to the guitar with interest. And I continued singing, and I was making sure that the music wasn't too loud and it wasn't too fast. I needed it to be calm, and that was the environment that I needed the music to create. And it did just that. And these first moments of working with a child or a young person are so important, because it's in those moments that trust is built. And I could see John sussing me out as well. And I think children and young people, they're really, really, really clued into that. And I think they can suss out a person's intent. And I could see him doing that, looking me straight in the eyes. And when I felt that anxiety had just lessened and things were nice and calm, I knew the next phase was to introduce him to the team and to move our session into the dental surgery. And I knew that this was a very, very important time, because I could easily lose trust if I wasn't really careful in how I supported him during this time. And so instead of saying or telling John that we were now going to go into the dental surgery, I asked him if he'd like to come and meet the rest of the team, and that I had more instruments inside, and would he like to come and see those? And he agreed, and we went out, and the dental consultant and the dental nurse came out, and they're just fabulous people. I'm sure any of you who have attended them know that already. And they immediately put John at ease in the way they spoke to him. And the next piece then was actually crossing that threshold and coming into the dental surgery. And so I kind of scooted ahead and I grabbed an ocean drum and I started to create a gentle sound, almost using that as distraction, just to try and support that transition into that dental surgery. And once he was in there, the dentist suggested that, asked him if John would move into the dental chair. And I knew this was one of the last hurdles for him. And it was very clear he didn't want to do that. And instead of trying to coerce him, everybody just accepted that. And we took a moment. I suggested doing a song, and I actually think it was the same song I did again, Half the World Away. And everybody just sat and listened to the music. And again, you could just feel those anxiety levels just coming down. And then after the song, his mum suggested sitting into the chair, and he agreed. So he sat up in the chair, and initially anything coming near the mouth was quite anxiety provoking for John. That was very, very clear. So I began to sing about what the dental team were doing, improvised songs, whether it was brushing the teeth or whatever the dental team were doing at that point. And I would sing that to John in a way to offer him a sense of control. And then something really amazing happened. He took up his hand and he actually held the toothbrush and began to help the dentist. Which was just a lovely moment. And I remember singing, "You're doing so well, everything's going to be all right, we're nearly there." And just to keep that calming environment going. And then at the very end of the dental appointment, John sat back into his chair and he looked at me again, dead in the eyes, and he signed, "Thank you." And I am not joking you when I tell you that thank you gave me enough energy to do a week's worth of work without rest. And it just made absolutely everything worthwhile. And, I think that this story, I'm so thankful to John and to his parents for allowing me to share this with you, because it gives a little glimpse, a little bit of an insight into the kind of team that is working behind the scenes when children attend and young people attend for appointments across CHI, and just also to acknowledge the huge team effort that this was with the dental consultant and nurse and receptionist and that clinical nurse specialist who identified this as an appropriate referral. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Oh, sorry, I'm just briefly transported away. I've never heard a dental story full of such emotion before. I may need to take a moment, Alison. Thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing. And the comments are coming in on YouTube and Facebook, just saying the same thing. June Shannon there saying, What a lovely story, Alison. Thank you for sharing it. A wonderful insight into the important work you do at Temple Street, and also telling us about the team involved as well too. I suppose the fundraising, it gives you it means that you're able to do it, gives you a bit of space, that people know who to come to. That's a direct, that John would have had so much a more stressful experience, with everybody trying their best and doing their very best for him, but it would have been a very, very stressful experience without all of you working together, doing what you do best in synchronized with each other. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think that's it. It's a real team effort, and it really is about coming together. And you know, everybody's busy in a clinical environment, but everybody has the time to just give a patient those extra couple of minutes to make sure they're comfortable, and to make sure that that their experience of healthcare is as positive as it can be. And that's the key, I think, and that's what the staff across CHI just do so well. I cannot tell you what it's like to work there, and to be surrounded by staff that genuinely care so much about the patients. They really are incredible, and it's such an inspiration to me. So it's such a pleasure to work not only with these fabulous children and young people that we meet, but alongside the team as well.
And also maybe something might catch on if dentists improvise singing their way through everybody's treatment. We'd all feel a little bit better. Although I don't know if a dentist can sing at me that I should floss more often, but I think you just brought us into that surgery, and I think we've all left knowing a hell of a lot more. Thank you so much, Alison Sweeney, our final storyteller of the night. So do your applause in the comments for Alison, to say thank you for sharing that story. And also thanks to Karina Batt for her lovely comment as well too. Very happy to be able to contribute to Temple Street. My own children were for the most part healthy, though did need care in Harcourt Street and Naas Hospital. I can't imagine, I think she's saying what we're all saying here, I can't imagine how hard and worrying life must be for parents of critically ill kids. So fabulous to see the benefits of fundraising help ease the scariness of the hospital environment for all. And she works in a hospital, so it's familiar to her. Thanks for that, Karina. And yes, we do. We hope the village goes from strength to strength. Also in the comments, Julian put in a link to Joe's fundraising as well too. So do check back for that as well. And yeah, it's just an amazing night of storytelling. Thank you so much to our storytellers. Before we go any further though, I'd like to talk to Denise Fitzgerald, Chief Executive of Children's Health Foundation. And the last time we were talking, Denise, I was in high definition with a tuxedo. I wasn't sitting in this red box, and we were on, it was a ball. It was the classic standard fundraising, bit of dinner, getting people to spend their money on an auction. That's how fundraising's done. And now, or at least for the last year and a bit, nearly year and a half, you've had to do things differently. What were the challenges of doing that?
Yeah, you're right, Colm. It's very, very different. But when you listen to Noreen's story about even her son and her daughter, Kate, and Joseph, and Joe, what he's doing and putting himself through over the past year, and then to Alison, who's telling you how donations make a difference right at the coalface, right, to a child who is so anxious about coming in to get some work done, some dental work done. You kind of really see the value of how donations make a difference, and how the tribe or the village that we all have and that support that they give to sick children is really, really important. And I remember Alison talking about a story she recently about a young teenager who struggled to actually communicate his feelings about the stress and he was under with his treatment, and actually how she sat down and wrote a song with him so he could express his feelings through song and get it out. And those kind of things, whilst might seem very small, are so important for each and every child and young person that comes through the doors. So it's really to say thank you to everybody who has supported us, who has continued to support us throughout the past year and a half and for many, many years beforehand. But then when you come down to the hospitals, when you walk into Crumlin, you see St. John's or the cardiology ward, and the difference that makes for parents, somewhere to sleep on, they're not having a portable pull-out bed, but they have somewhere to sleep beside their son or daughter, and somewhere to have the dignity to be able to be with them on their own and to hold their hand. And in the dead of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning, if they need to go to the bathroom, that they can, they're not walking through wards and everything else. So all those kind of things are only possible because people were able to make donations and were able to support us. And just incredibly grateful. And thank you so much to everyone for making all these wonderful things happen.
And Denise, you haven't been sitting around saying there's no hotel, so we can't do anything. You've been busy, and I mentioned it at the top, but I don't think I gave it enough of a woohoo. You did your bake-off, and that's online, but that got the village together, didn't it? All around the national village, and you raised a lot of money.
We did. We were trending on Twitter all over Ireland on Friday. You would not believe the amount of gingerbread men and cakes and buns and everything that was going around. It was fantastic. But actually, what was lovely was the reasons why people were, people were sharing their stories about us. That it was the nurses in Temple Street, or it was the canteen team in Crumlin, whenever they were really struggling, that somebody'd save them a dinner. They come down at 8 o'clock at night just to get away from it all. Or they were looking for Wi-Fi and somebody come up and said, oh, actually, we have a charger here. It was all those little stories that actually made the big difference for people. And, when you look at the new intensive care unit and all those things that are made possible, then you look at the simple things, the place fund and our giggle fund, that we buy ice creams for the kids, on a really hot day just to kind of brighten it up, or simple things. We had a family who we knew were getting bad news the next day, and the play specialist went out and actually bought some voucher and got them all organised for them to go out for a meal that night and have some fun. We got, the oxygen, everything we were able to do, all that. So they had a lovely memory before they were about to embark on a really grueling treatment schedule for probably around 12 months. And all those things, again, come from donations that people, and be it bake sales. You wouldn't believe some of the weird and wonderful things people have been doing. We've people doing 150,000 kilometers, steps, everything. And when you think about Joe's putting himself and his body through, for his 365 days run, it actually is inspiring me to get out of my own way and to start running again.
He's never looked better though, Joe. It's working for him. He's in top form. Is there anything coming up that you'd like to tell us about? Is there any fundraising that we can support Joe and all of those? Anything else coming up over the next while?
We just had our Great Irish Bake on Friday. We have some things coming up now, and our communities team, we're actually encouraging people to get out and about and do some star jumps and getting their family together and having a bit of fun. Or 150,000 steps your way for the month of June and things. So there's lots of different ways to get involved and help out. So all support would be greatly received.
That's great. And as you can see, people have, the donations buy stuff, but it also seems like it buys time, doesn't it? It buys time for the staff to give more attention, more individual help to that one person who comes in at that time. Yeah.
Well, actually, to be honest, most people will always remember someone, if it's one of the porters, if it's the canteen team, or if it's the nurses. And they really do make the difference between someone's experience. And I remember a mum coming into us and she had just given birth and her baby had been rushed to the intensive care unit, and she said it was the first thing the nurse said to her was actually congratulations. And she said after the trauma of what she'd been through for the past 24 hours, it was the first person who actually congratulated her on becoming a new mum, and was looking after her as well as her baby in intensive care. It's just those things mean so much to us. And again, that's why donations help. They help us give all those supports for families, but also help us support the team, the staff themselves.
Yeah, and in, I suppose, that unusual environment of a hospital, ordinary is wonderful sometimes, isn't it? Just the everyday.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Denise.
Not at all. Thank you, Colm.
Yeah, and for all your work. And that was Denise Fitzgerald, our Chief Executive of Children's Health Foundation. and just reinforcing, you know, the people who are helping with their donations and with their fundraising, making so much of a difference to people's lives. So we're nearly done. Just before the end, we're going to say a special thank you to our storytellers. But in case it's your first time hearing of this kind of thing, storytelling in general, so tonight's show, it's with the Children's Health Foundation and us. We're at the Dublin Story School, which is an exciting new project from the Dublin Story Slam that me and Julian run. Julian he's the puppet master, bringing us in and out of the screen there. That's all the cool stuff that you see. Both my hands are visible, yet mad stuff is happening. That's Julian. He is the director and producer extraordinaire of the Dublin Story Slam, out of which comes the Dublin Story School. And we work with individuals, charities, not-for-profits, and large companies to help them find powerful personal stories and deliver them in a way that connects. And we host storytelling workshops, one-to-one story coaching, and we want to create online events like this. It takes a village because the stories are there, and I know there's loads of people who want to listen to them. So it's about bringing all those together to share messages that really matter. So you can find out more about us, and I'll stop the plugging, I swear, very soon. Just email us at info@thedublinstoryslam.com to find out how storytelling can do what you experienced tonight. Just light up a room or a screen, and hopefully soon it will be a room. But enough about us. Let's get back to our storytellers. And I'm just going to say a very special thank you to them once again for sharing their stories with us. First up, Noreen Doyle. How are you now, Noreen, after all of that? Thank you so much.
Well, you know, I'm always quite anxious telling my story because I really, you know, it's important to get the story across and to do what we need to do. But look, I'm absolutely thrilled to have had the opportunity. So thank you very much. And Colm, thank you for being a fantastic host as always.
Sure. I'm only sitting here talking. Thanks very much, Noreen. Okay, Joe, thank you. Joe, you're there. There he is. Hiya, Joe. And thanks again for telling that story.
And thank you very much, Colm, and thank you everybody for tuning in.
Great stuff. And finally, Alison Sweeney, our final storyteller. There you are. And you've got something in your hand that we're going to hear very shortly. Thanks so much. Did you want to say a quick shout out to the people who are logging in tonight?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much to all the donors and everybody at home that's watching this. I'm absolutely delighted to tell you that the foundation have just funded a project, a music therapy and dental project, which means that with your support, we will now be able to roll out music therapy and dental appointments to children with complex medical needs and really high anxiety. That's going to happen one day a month over the next 18 months. We are so excited about it. We think that we're the first in the country, maybe the first in Ireland and the UK to be offering this. It's very exciting, and we absolutely couldn't do it without your support. So thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Alison, for that great news to wrap us up. But we've one more wrap up to do. You mentioned you were going. I saw you armed with a guitar. There's a song a-coming. Take it away, Alison.
I'd like to leave this city. This old town don't smell too pretty. I can feel warning signs running around my mind. And when I leave this island, I'll book myself into a suicide. I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. So here I go, I'm still scratching around in the same old hole. My body feels young, but my mind is very old. Oh, what do you say? You can't give me the dreams that are mine anyway. I'm half the world away. I'm half the world away. Half the world away. lost, I've been found, but I don't feel down. And when I leave this planet, you don't stay, but I just can't stand it. I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. And when I leave this spirit, I'll find a hole that I live in. I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. Oh, so here I go, still scratching around in the same old hole. My body feels young, but my mind is very old. Oh, so what do you say? You can't give me the dreams that are mine anyway. Your half the world away. Half the world away. I've been lost, I've been found, but I don't feel down.
Oh, thank you so much, Alison Sweeney, there, playing us out at the end of It Takes a Village, Dublin Story Slam. Delighted to spend some lovely time in the company of great storytellers, great people, and Children's Health Foundation. That's it for us. We had a lovely time in this room, this virtual room. We call it the Parish Hall of the village of the Children's Health Foundation. We can't wait to get back into a real room with curtains. I can't even remember what's in a room, but we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much to everybody who came along. Thanks to our storytellers. Thanks to Charlotte as well too, and all the staff at Children's Health Foundation for helping us put the show together. It's been a pleasure for myself and Julian Clancy, producer. See you soon, hopefully in a room, and continue to support the great work done in our children's hospitals. Thank you very much and good night.